Every time our athletes walk into this weight room, they're going to be pushed to the max.
Let's go! Let's go!
The barbell hasn't changed in over 100 years. I can take a 25-pound plate and we'll go out on the turf and I'll have you hating life. We talk about straining your gut, pushing past that comfort level. I want a lot of energy. What better breeding ground is there for being a success in life than the weight room?
Hey guys, welcome back to Iron Game Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Ron McKeefery, and this is episode number 242. I want to thank you guys for listening each week. Really appreciate those of you that like, share, and comment on social media. Just helps us to continue to highlight the great people doing fantastic things in our profession. I also want to thank our sponsors, and specifically Gym Aware for sponsoring this episode. Only partner with companies that I believe in. Gym Aware is by far the gold standard when it comes to velocity-based training and some fantastic people as well. So if you're in the market for that or any of the other products that our sponsors rep, please reach out to them and at least give them an opportunity, or at least tell them thank you for sponsoring the show. This week I'm joined by Dr. Rob Bell. Got a chance to get to know him a little bit through being through social media through the years, but then also coming to our clinic up in Noblesville, and then speaking at the NFL Combine recently, and just a wealth of information. He's a sports psych coach. He's an author, speaker. He's done a little bit of everything. He's been a pro golf caddy. He's a professor. He's he's just had a great journey along the way. And so, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing.
Absolutely, Coach Ron. I'm excited, man. Thanks.
Rob, I always talk a little bit about, I used to go through the whole journey experience, and lay that all out there. But rather than do that, I think what I like to do is kind of hone in on, which one of those experiences or which stop along the way kind of best defines who you are today.
Boy, that's a great one, man. I kind of look at it like this. I mean, I never got it. I never got it. All in high school, there'd be people that would be coaching me and stuff like that. And I was the one that just tried to get by on talent. And yeah, there'd be bouts of working hard and stuff like that. But when I got to college, I blew it. And I totally messed up and ruined kind of any opportunity I had. And I managed to get through college. I mean, I still used my intelligence to get through. I guess that was my talent. But when I got to grad school, I always look back to that one because I was given a shot. I got into Temple University. I got an assistantship, and I wasn't going to blow it. I was not going to blow it. And I always got back to, this was a while ago, and I always remember that quote by Lance Armstrong. It's like, if you ever get a second chance at life, you got to go all the way. And I felt like I was given a second chance there. So it was like, I was a B student all through high school and college because I never wanted to study. Like, why study? But when I got into grad school, that I was reading everything. 9/11 happened. I was in grad school, and at Temple University, they kept the school open. And I still went to that night class because I was like, I've got to be there. And there was it was me and one other person in class. I don't even think the teacher showed up or something, but it was like, I'm every chance that I got that one right there. And then it was just, running marathons and triathlons at that point. And really just that discipline piece then just really took off.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you. You got to grab hold of those moments. What in that journey, you don't get to be, an author and an accomplished speaker and have the career that you've had without making some mistakes. What's maybe the biggest mistake you've made and kind of how you learn from it? I'm not just talking today. I'm talking through the whole time here.
Oh, right. One of the biggest mistakes that I made, I was caddying. My very first event I was ever caddying on the PGA Tour. I was caddying for one of my golfers that we just started working together that week on the mental game. And I'm caddying for him. He's playing really, really well. We go up this is the second day of the tournament. We go on to the 9th hole, and he's playing really well. I look up in the scoreboard, and he's in first place. And it says Christian, 6 under par. And I remember thinking, I was like, that says Bell, 6 under par. In my mind,
right.
I'm the best caddy in the world, the best sports psychologist. We're going to win this tournament. I'm going to cash a nice check. Tiger's going to call me up. This is great. Right. So I get caught up in the moment. He tossed me a golf ball, and I grab the golf ball, and I'm cleaning it. 9th green. We got 9 more holes to go in the day, second day of the tournament. And as I'm cleaning the ball drops in the bag. I reach in, I grab it, and I toss it to him. He makes the putt. We go into the 10th tee box, 9 more holes to go. And then I remember it was like this feeling of dread kind of overcame me because it was like, Gary, I said, that was a Callaway 2 blue circle, right? And he wants to know why I'm asking. He looks and it's a Callaway 4 blue circle. So I'm thinking that I'm the man, I'm the best ever. I hand him the wrong golf ball.
Oh, wow.
Rules of golf are very, very specific. You have to start and end each hole with the same ball. At the end, you can do anything you want with it.
Right.
Well, the rules of golf also say you call all penalties on yourself. Call the rules official over, 2-shot penalty.
Oh, no.
So he goes from first to third or fourth. And I can tell you what, the voice then that went in my head totally changed about how awful I was. I was really going to set the bag down right there and go kill myself.
Right.
Because how could you be so stupid?
Right, sure.
And the thing that I learned from is he didn't talk to me for a couple holes. I mean, that's a long time to be quiet, you're trying to help out and all stuck inside my own head. And I remember on the 1 tee box, probably 14 tee box, he stops and says, look, I need you. We're going to get that shot back. Don't worry about it, but I need you. And it really taught me the power there of respond, don't react. Because I think when we react, my reaction was about, if it was me, I'm just going to fire this guy, right? Somebody else could carry the bag and give me yardages.
Right.
But when we respond, we're cool, calm, and collected. And I think our reactions are usually incorrect, but our response is, we think of a first responder, somebody trained to handle that situation. So that was the biggest mistake, man, I made in competition. And
That's an awesome story.
Yeah.
It's not awesome to live through, but it's an awesome to learn from for sure. And I think that's important as coaches. I think, we're all going to have those moments. We're going to have that moment where we make a mistake, but I think just like in the game of golf where etiquette is paramount, I think in strength and conditioning, acknowledging your mistakes either to your employer or to, more importantly, to the players, and to say, hey, you know what, I messed up. And that was a mistake on my part, and I'll fix it, and I'll work harder to make it, better the next time. And other athletes are not going to have to deal with that because of you guys, responding so greatly. I think that kind of humility amongst your subordinates per se with the players or with your leaders, I think is something that's, everybody wants to seem like they got it all together, but that's not human. Nobody responds to a robot.
Yeah, I heard a great quote. Coach said, if you want to be great in the field, you got to be vulnerable.
Yeah, got to do that. I think.
And that's so true, man. It's we got to make our mess and turn it into our message. We got to make our test, make it our testimony, and that's where that's when we relate to people.
I love that. I use message your message, but I've never used test as your testimony. I'm still in that one for me. I'll give you credit for like 3 times, and then it's mine.
For sure, man. I think I borrowed it from Oprah probably.
Yeah, right. I think we all do at some point. Well, I didn't know that about you with the whole caddy thing. I did not know that about you. It surprises me too, because I think my impression was caddies were always that tactical coach or that person that was that strategist. But having that mental component in your back pocket when you're playing, over the course of 2 or 3 days or whatever it is, I think that's freaking phenomenal. Talk a little bit how you got into that and kind of how you've been able to parlay that into a little bit of a career there.
Yeah, sure. So I'll only caddy like for my clients, and I'm a good caddy. I'm a good fill-in caddy. I'm not a great caddy. The difference between a good caddy and great caddy is they know what their player is thinking before he's even thinking it.
Yeah.
So the caddying is all about timing. Like great coaching is all about timing. And the thing I love about it so much is it's the closest thing to being, an on-the-field coach. I'm not going to be, head basketball coach that's going to be on the floor or anything like that. So, that's the best opportunity. And just to be of service, just be able to help people. I think great caddies can save their golfer, 1 shot around. And that makes all the difference. People ask, well, are those bags heavy? I kind of say it like this. And this is the thing when it comes to coaching, right? It's like, hey, we shot 67. He shot 74.
Yeah, right.
So when we're doing well, those bags aren't heavy at all, man. It's just
right.
when he's playing bad, then bags get a little bit heavy sometimes. But I love talking with caddies, and they're just so great coaches too.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think I think a message that, strength coaches that are listening can take away from that was, I think that you kept your ear to the ground and found an opportunity for your skill set to be of use in maybe an area that it wasn't being used, and I think as strength coaches, that's something that I get a little frustrated about, where, we all complain about there's not very many jobs and, this lack of opportunity, this, that, and the other. But I mean, we have to grow this profession. We have to, seek out things like tactical strength and conditioning, where, police and fire and SWAT were not, they weren't used in strength and conditioning before, but now that they are, they're becoming more efficient first responders and things like that. We need to keep finding those opportunities and keeping our tentacles open and to creating things out of nothing and creating opportunities for ourselves. So I really like that. I think the big buzzword right now and the big kind of debate amongst coaching is mental toughness, right? Can you develop that? Is that something that, did you as a strength coach, do you have an obligation to create that, in those 8 months outside of the season? What is your take on mental toughness? And then, let's talk a little bit about how to best develop that if it can be developed.
Sure, absolutely. Well, mental toughness, again, it's simple. It's very simple. It's just not easy. Mm-hmm. So all mental toughness it's how we perform well under pressure, how we do in those have to moments. And then the other part is how do we deal, how do we handle, and how do we cope with the adversity, with the setbacks that happen. That's all mental toughness is. And I really think then mental toughness, what I've seen is it's caught more than it's taught. I think it's caught more than it's taught. So it's like, if you're the most mentally tough athlete, it's not going to win you a championship. But if you don't have mental toughness, it will lose it for you. And so I believe the brain is a muscle. And what we're trying to do as coaches, at least from my standpoint, is to put them in situations where there's going to be adversity, there's going to be setbacks, they're going to fail from it. And then that's the importance of a coach, to be able to come in there and say, all right, what did you learn from that situation? Are we blaming other people there? Did you not want to be in the situation? Where did your mind go under that pressure? Do you start thinking about what other people think about you? And what happens? How do you cope when that adversity hits? Just totally check out, and then it gets back to like your why. Sure. So I think all those are coachable moments, and we're teaching those, but then when they're going to be in those situations, they're going to catch it. I've never met an athlete that didn't choke. I mean, a professional athlete. I've met, okay athletes that didn't choke, but they weren't in those situations. I've never met a professional athlete that did not choke. And that's the importance of a coach, is to come in there. And I want my athletes choking in practice, because I want them to understand that's where your mind's going to go in the game.
Right.
So if we are under pressure, if we are under that stress and duress, where does our mind go? What do we start thinking about? Because then that's the coachable moments pieces. Especially in the strength condition world, in the weight room. I mean, we all know mental toughness is, that's the laboratory for that stuff. Are they willing to just do one more?
Right.
Are they willing to coach up others, and focus on their teammates more than just themselves?
So. I always tell you that, the weight room is the best laboratory for life, because you come with a plan, you get smacked in the face, you have to deal with adversity, you have to deal with success, you have to work as a team. And you're doing all that in one workout, and your energy directly affects how the workout goes or doesn't go. I think that's so important. And then you turn around and you talk about the other part of that is just like strength and conditioning, growth occurs, hypertrophy occurs when you push the muscle past its present capacity. So I think it's the same thing with our own mental toughness. It's in those moments of adversity and despair that you grow the most as a person, and you come out more resilient on the other side. And so I couldn't agree with you more, but I guess my question would be, do you have an obligation as a coach then to put them in those adverse situations? I mean, one of the common cliches in strength and conditioning is, I'm going to throw the physiology textbook out of the window and really drop these guys in the grease today and put them through a tough workout, when it doesn't maybe make sense physiologically. Like a morning agility. Sometimes people will argue that doesn't really make sense physiologically, but mentally, as a former athlete, and having gone and played football at a pretty high level, I think those things were paramount to me in my development as an athlete, to be able to handle anything that was thrown at me.
Yeah. The workouts that I remember, especially like in soccer, was running that hill. And that hill then came to symbolize, how bad do you want it? Are you willing to keep, pushing forward? And there was a coach, man, that teaches us the importance of a coach, that training this is a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you don't have to do that. Like my kids will ask me, do I have to vacuum? Man, you don't have to vacuum.
Right.
You get to vacuum. You get to train.
That's right.
And pressure is a privilege, right? Like you want to be in those pressure circumstances. And I always say, like with coaching, what I think is important is I just try to outline, this is my philosophy when it comes to it. This is how I am going to coach. And you got to give me some dialogue and some feedback on where are going to be the sticking points for you. Like, are you going to need me? Do you need somebody in your ear all the time?
Right.
Or do you want that support? Do you want to always be just encouraged? Like, what is it how do you respond best? I think asking them those questions are big. And not always saying, hey, I'm going to cater exactly to how you are, but just learning, I think, more than about the individual, kind of like the questions you ask, right? Like, hey, what are the biggest things you've overcome in your life?
Right. Right.
And then we see there's a common denominator. Those that have overcome a lot of stuff in their life are more mentally tough. It was caught. They had to catch that situation.
Yeah, I think that's the hard thing as coaches sometimes is there, and that's where the art comes in, I believe, where it's that fine line of what's too much physically. You see some of the rhabdo cases and things like that versus what's pushing the line on developing them mentally tough and making them more resilient over time. And I think we have to, as coaches, I think the important step there is obviously, you have to be able to recognize distress. I mean, that's the medical part. But the other part of that is coming back later on and saying, reminding them of those situations when they're in those moments in a game that, hey, no, we've been here before. We've been backed up on our own 2-yard line in practice and we've had to go 98 yards. We've done that before. We've had to make the stop to win the game, and so we have to remind them of those things in the moment, or that message is lost, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think the number one source of confidence is past performance. How do we know we can do something? Well, we've done it before, It's just that the only thing that changes is the stage.
Yeah.
We've done these things before.
Yeah, I'm reading your book right now, that No One Gets There Alone, and it's a fantastic read, and I think it's a great message, just like the hinge, and we'll talk about that as well. But there's been so many times in my life that that I've had to have help along the way, and I think anytime, again, going back to that vulnerability piece, where we want to act as if we got there on our own, but you don't have to. In this profession, if you don't have mentors to teach you, the art of coaching, like we're talking about, then it doesn't happen for you. Talk a little bit about the book and kind of the message behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had this incident in this half Ironman that I was doing. I wasn't prepared, didn't train all that. I was my ego, and I don't recommend it. And I had a flat tire on the race. This guy stops his own race to help me change a tire. And the only thing I kept asking myself after was would you stop?
Right.
Would you stop? And the answer was no, I wouldn't have. And the reason why, it didn't have anything to do with life. And it didn't have anything to do with me not being a good person. It had to do with competition, man.
Yeah.
Competition, that's his problem. He should have been more prepared. But now that incident right there, that hinge moment changed everything, because I'm going into every situation not focused on myself, focused on who is it that I'm going to be able to help here? What teammate I'm going to be able to help? If we were to change that mindset going into a workout, not wondering, hey, how am I going to do? Because then it's performance driven and it's all about me.
Right.
It's if we went into it saying, who am I going to be able to help here? Well, then what we create is we create a better us. And then when we're going to need that, then it's going to be there. Then it's all about creating a better us and then a better you.
Right.
And that's why I think a better us makes a better you. A better you makes a better us. So that's the piece that I'm just always now stressing with my athletes, that, again, I never got it earlier. I wish I did, man. But now I finally got it. And the beauty about it is we can't help out anyone else without also helping out ourselves. So the fact that, let's say if I'm doing a workout and I'm encouraging other people, I can't turn around and then say, kind of quit on myself. It just doesn't work like that. Like that encouragement of encouraging other people comes right back to me.
Right. Right. I think you go back to something like Maxwell's book with 5 levels of leadership, and the highest being permission-based leadership. And you don't get permission-based leadership without being selfless and to give to others. And then it's the old adage, rising tide raises all ships. I think by you making others better, it makes yourself better. I think that ultimately, we have to have that kind of as coaches, we have to have that selfless mentality, or you're not going to last. If you're in this for yourself, this profession will beat you down so fast, and it's just not worth it. You don't get paid enough, and you don't get enough time on all those things. So what's great about strength and conditioning coaches is they're some of the most selfless people on the planet with what they do. But we have to continue to strive to find that within ourselves, and to continue to strive to send that message to our athletes, because they all are going to be leaders of their own families at the very least. But typically athletes are leaders within their communities and businesses and the whole deal. And so I love that. You spoke recently at the NFL Combine, and it's always fun because that's a tough crowd now. I mean, those are some of the best in the world at what they do, and then you turn around and it's like, okay, well, I don't have a goatee and a bald head, and I'm not 300 pounds and ripped up. How do I go into this room and captivate these guys and to send a message of how to win when there's the Super Bowl champion, the past Super Bowl champion, and the past Super Bowl champion before him are all in the same room.
Yeah.
Thought you did a fantastic job, but one of the things you talked about was those hinge moments, those moments in time where they could have gone one way or the other, and so important to identify and be able to disseminate those moments and reflect on those moments as you grow as a person, very, it was unexpected and very much appreciated. But you talked about my hinge moment, of walking onto a football field and having a coach take me to the side and let me watch practice and set me down a path that, is taking me around the world and me to coach, some incredible people. But talk about, how do we best identify those moments to our athletes? How do we best identify those moments in ourselves when they happen?
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of said this line, like, we can't connect the dots looking forward. We don't know what moment is going to be a hinge moment. Mm-hmm. And we can only connect the dots looking backwards, seeing the impact of that one moment, that one person. So every moment's important. Every rep is important. Every lift is important every single day. And that's where, if we take the same attitude and importance on every talk that we give, every lecture that we give, every time we're going to interact with someone, if that's the most important one, then we're giving ourselves the best opportunity for that hinge to connect. If we don't take action, if we say, I really don't need to be there and stuff like that, then we'd have no idea. And that's the thing is, the way I really see it, the way that our hinge is going to connect in our own life. And I thought it took me a while to get it, but we've got to just be the hinge for other people. Yeah. If we're that hinge, if we're that person, then our moment's going to happen as well. And if we can focus, again, it just gets back to that service piece. Who can I help today? Who can I connect to somebody else? That's going to come back. And is it always going to work out in our favor? No, not at all. Are we going to get hurt by it? Yeah. Are we going to get taken advantage of? Yeah.
Yeah.
But do it anyways, because that's the right thing to do. And knowing that if we plant enough seeds, then those trees are gonna be fruitful.
You never know when that's, I'm glad you said that, because you never know when that's going to bear its fruit or when it's going to come back to you. I tell the story often. I wrote it in my book. We had a player that we were oil and water. He was a drug addict. He was, not a good student, wasn't a very good person at the time. And, and I just being a very principle based, pretty clean cut guy, we were just oil and water, and the guy shows up to our NFL pro day with a bowl of water and a rat dog, and goes around to all the NFL agents barefoot asking them if they had water for his dog, and then he borrows somebody's cleats and runs a 4.39 and he gets drafted, and long story short, he gets kicked out, the league basically for drugs. He gets court mandated, military service. And 6 years later, I'm sitting in my office and here comes this freaking, 6-foot stud in a Marine uniform walking in my office with a tear in his eye, and he's like, "Look, coach, you're the only one that wouldn't put up my shit, and I just want to say thank you." Those kind of moments, that's why you do what you do. Even though I beat my head against the wall thinking I didn't reach that kid, you got to pour into them, because you never know if you're going to be that hinge or you're going to be that one catalyst that might help sit. And I don't know if that was me. I think it was more military than anything, but the fact that that we had a contribution there is huge.
Yeah, I mean, I always look at it too. It's like, we're either telling ourselves or listening to ourselves. And if we're listening, we just hope that we're listening to, coach's voice that's going to be in on us.
Right.
But the one part about the hinge, I know this to be true, no matter how bad things are, no matter how, it only takes one. It takes, one catch to turn a whole game around. It takes one play, one moment. It takes one game to turn an entire season around. It takes one person to change that life. And since we don't know when that's coming, that's the piece that's important.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. Well, man, we end the show with some resources here. What's the best piece of coaching advice you ever received?
I mean, the best piece of coaching advice I ever received, we hear this one all the time. It's just never, ever give up. I mean, I can go deeper. I can get a whole bunch of them, but that's what it boils down to. If we never give up, I believe we will be successful. The game of life teaches us that it's a game of attrition.
Yep. No, I couldn't agree with you more. I think, it's the question is, can you not do it, but how much are you willing to sacrifice to do it sometimes? Right. I think that's 100% true. What about a book, app, website recommendation?
So a book recommendation, I read all the time. I always think, like, if you're a coach, you're paid to read.
Yeah.
You're paid to read.
You're paid to do all that. Read better be one of them for sure.
Yeah. So one of them, one that I just kind of finished, it was just Wherever I Wind Up. And that was R.A. Dickey's book. And that's a fantastic book about faith, about perseverance. And highly recommend that book. Fantastic.
Yeah. That's awesome. You're not a big app guy. I know you said Waze was kind of the app, but any websites you check out?
I'll probably do like podcasts. I like your podcast, Jocko's podcast, James Alturshore's. I kick those around. Anytime I'm in the car, I disengage from all kind of sports radio and talk like that. And I just think we got to feed our mind with the audio books or podcasts.
Right. Yeah, mobile university, right? That's what I try to do as well.
That's good, man. I'm going to borrow that one, Coach.
Well, man, like I said, as we talked offline and through the last couple of weeks and whatnot, I appreciate anybody that is willing to put themselves out there to create resources, to live their life the right way, and then try to help others as well, man. And so I just appreciate what you're doing, how you're doing it, and really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. Should we give a book away for one of your listeners?
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. We'll put this up. Anybody that comments, we'll run it for a week, and then we'll draw a name.
Best hinge moment.
There you go. Best hinge moment. Let's do it. I like it.
All right, man.
Best hinge moment. And then as we head out here, where can everybody find you? What website and
so my website is drrobbell.com. And then I'm always on Twitter. That's my best ADD. So it's just @DrRobbell.
Awesome, man. Awesome. We appreciate it, buddy. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
That's it for this episode of Iron Game Chalk Talk. Thanks to this week's guest as well as our sponsors for bringing this episode to you for free. Make sure to check out ronmckeefery.com, where you can join our mailing list, find the show notes, including all the links and resources mentioned, and information about Coach McKeefery's other products. While you are there, please join Coach McKeefery in the comments section thanking our guest for sharing. If you haven't subscribed to Iron Game Chalk Talk on YouTube or iTunes yet, make sure to do so. Comments, ratings, and reviews are always welcome. Coach McKeefery can be found on Twitter @rmckeefery, on Facebook and YouTube @ron.mckeefery. That's it for this week. Be sure to check back next week for another great episode of Iron Game Chalk Talk.